is all that's left of us. But only if you ever worried. While the signs were clear, they had no idea. You just get used to living in fear. Or give up when you can't even picture your future. We walk the plank with our eyes wide open.
What's up, YouTube? Evan from Epic Duel Time here, doing another segment for you guys on the Know the Rule Before You Duel. I figured I'd do one of these. I haven't done one in a little while. This one is mostly just to kind of clear the air and explain why things are the way they are around this very famous card, Mystical Space Typhoon. A lot of players misuse, misunderstand, and misinterpret what this card really does. And this card's effect is so simple that I guess it makes it easy to misunderstand. I don't know. But this is going to be, for some of you, very basic review. Some of you don't need this. This is just going to be kind of a video that you're going to link to people who you see on Dueling Network who don't know what the hell they're doing. And for those of you who don't know this stuff, well, this will be a good opportunity for you. So, this is one of the most popular cards in the card game, really. It is currently at 3 right now. It came out in the 3rd ever Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG set, Magic Ruler, later known as Spell Ruler. It was one of the first quick play spell cards that we had in the game, and it's very effective. But a lot of players don't understand exactly why this card behaves the way it does, and I think the big misunderstanding isn't with Mystical Space Typhoon, it's really with game mechanics. People not really understanding the mechanics of the game. And it really has to do with resolving effects versus, destroying things. So the card simply says, target one spell or trap on the field, destroy that card, or destroy that target. And that's all it says, is you point at a card and then you blow it up. And that's all it does. So it's such a simple effect. How could it go wrong? Well, very easily. Keep in mind that what I'm going to talk about applies to cards like these as well. Dust Tornado, Twister, Raigeki Break. Anything that destroys like this and is chainable generally works. So let's go over some scenarios. Let's say that I have a Dark Magician in my graveyard, and you have a face down card. And I go and I'm going to activate Monster Reborn, and that's going to act as my Chain Link 1. For those of you who don't understand chain links, when we activate cards, they form a chain, and they start because they're an effect that activates. Monster Reborn is an effect. It is a spell effect. We have trap effects, spell effects, and monster effects. And if they activate, they form chain links. I'm sorry for any of you that this is a review for. So what I want to do is I'm going to target my Dark Magician in my graveyard, and I want to summon it back. What you do is you're going to try to chain your Mystical Space Typhoon. You know you can. It's been set for a time. And it's going to form the Chain Link 2. Now, what do we have here? We have a chain. Monster Reborn is the Chain Link 1, Mystical Space Typhoon being the Chain Link 2, responding to it. In chains, we resolve backwards. So essentially, the last thing that was chained is the first thing we resolved. Like climbing upstairs, to come back down the stairs, you would need to go up, down the same way you came up. So we're going to resolve. And we're going to resolve our Mystical Space Typhoon. And it's going to try to kind of destroy the Monster Reborn, but the problem is, Monster Reborn's already destined to go to the graveyard, so there's nothing really you can do about it. Also, Monster Reborn has no stipulation that says it needs to stand on the field. It's just a normal spell. It doesn't need to be on the field when it resolves, because it's going to go to the graveyard anyway. So Mystical Space Typhoon literally doesn't do anything to Monster Reborn when I use it, so I'll get my Dark Magician back, no problem. Our next scenario is going to be a little trickier. We're going to set up the same board, but I'm going to have a set card instead. And then my Chain Link 1, instead of being Monster Reborn, I'm going to try to use Call of the Haunted. This is a very similar card, but we'll see a little different interaction. It's a continuous trap. You're going to respond once again to this chain with Mystical Space Typhoon as the Chain Link 2. Our issue's really in Call of the Haunted. So, when Mystical Space Typhoon resolves, it's going to try to destroy the Call of the Haunted, and it will. Call the Haunted will go to the graveyard. But let's remember that the game mechanic of a continuous trap card. Remember that continuous cards have to stay on the field till the end of the chain and fully resolve before being able to apply all their effects. Call the Haunted actually also works like this. Activate this card by targeting one monster in your graveyard. That's the activation requirement. It was my Dark Magician. And because Mystical Space Typhoon was chained, because Mystical Space Typhoon will resolve first, it's going to destroy Call the Haunted before it even gets a chance to summon Dark Magician because it doesn't get the second half of its effect. Call the Haunted has to be on the field the entire time to get its effect. Also, Call the Haunted states that when this card leaves the field, destroy that target. Meaning that if this chain were reversed, and I did get the monster summoned, it would only be destroyed by Mystical Space Typhoon destroying Call the Haunted. So, no matter how this chain was broken down, Mystical Space Typhoon will be able to stop Call the Haunted in one way or the other, keeping it from summoning it all, or being able to destroy Dark Magician indirectly. So let's go over a third scenario. Let's say you have a set card, and I activate Fire Formation Tenki. And that's going to be my Chainlink 1. So let's go over, this is a continuous spell card. Fire Formation Tenki. When this card is activated, and then we have a colon, you can add one level 4 or lower Beast Warrior type monster from your deck to your hand. All Beast Warrior type monsters you control gain 100 attack. You can only activate one Fire Formation Tenki per turn. So the first sentence is what we do when this card is activated. The second sentence, all Beast Warrior types getting the 100 attack, is a continuous effect, meaning it doesn't activate at all. But we're activating a spell card. So that has to activate, and it's Chainlink 1. When you resolve Tenki, you get to have a monster. So it activates. When this card is activated, it activates. So you're going to respond with Mystical Space Typhoon again, and you're going to chain it. So we're going to go to the Chainlink 2. Now, like continuous traps, continuous spells must fully resolve before being able to apply their effects, meaning if and when, in this scenario, Tenki gets destroyed, I still have to resolve the effect of Fire Formation Tenki. Just like I did with Monster Reborn, I can still resolve the effect. Now, when people say MST negates, it doesn't do that at all. It's simply the game mechanic of continuous spells that it has to be face up on the field to resolve this effect. Because if it doesn't, well, it's not there anymore, and it needs to be there because that's the nature of a continuous spell card. It's the nature of a continuous trap card, it's the nature of an equipped spell card, and it's the nature of a field spell card. These cards need to stay face up on the field to resolve. So, Fire Formation Tenki will resolve without effect, meaning it's not going to get its effect. It will resolve, but the proper circumstances are not in place for it to be able to resolve with its effect. It doesn't get to keep its effect of being able to let me search out a Beast Warrior type monster if it's not sitting there face up on the field when it goes to resolve. Now we're going to try this with field spells. So let's say you have a field spell on the field. Now remember that the game mechanic for field spell is that if I activate and resolve a field spell while you have a already resolved field spell, your field spell will be destroyed by game mechanics, and my new field spell will take over. So let's say you have Dragon's Ravine, and I also have a Dragon Ravine, and I'm going to try to activate mine, and that's going to be the Chainlink 1. And you're going to respond with Mystical Space Typhoon. Now, you cannot interrupt a chain. We haven't resolved Dragon Ravine yet. However, you can respond to the Dragon Ravine. So, you're going to chain your MST, and what's going to happen here is we have a chain. The initial activation, even though I'm not activating the effect of Dragon Ravine to send a dragon from the hand to the graveyard discarding a card from the hand to the graveyard to send a dragon or search a dragon, Dragoonity, it doesn't mean anything. It means that the card simply activates the first time. So, the field spell activates because it's being put on the field. Next, you're chaining this to a Space Typhoon, and that's going to try to destroy it. So when you destroy it, you resolve, and Dragon Ravine goes to the graveyard. Like continuous spells, a field spell, to be able to resolve with its effect and be able to resolve entirely, must stay face up on the field. The other Dragon Ravine, your copy of Dragon Ravine, cannot be destroyed by game mechanics if the face-up new field spell isn't destroyed at the resolution of the chain. Meaning, if at the end it's not going to be there, the old one doesn't go anywhere. Another good example is a very popular ruling with Mystical Space Typhoon versus Gear Town. Gear Town has a nifty little effect when it's destroyed. So we're going to say you have a Gear Town, and I'm going to say I have a Gear Town. Apparently we're playing the same deck. And you also have a set face down card. I think at this point in this video, I think we know what that set card's going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and try to activate a Gear Town. Let's go over what Gear Town does. We're going to ignore the first effect. It's a continuous effect that sets the condition of being able to tribute summon ancient gear monsters more easily. But we're going to go to the second effect. When this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one ancient gear monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So, if you haven't seen my video on missing the timing yet, I'll include it in the description below. But I'm going to try to go over that as quickly as possible. But essentially, what Gear Town does is, when it's destroyed, the very second it's destroyed, it gets, it basically will try to summon an ancient gear monster. So it's going to take the Chain Link 1, activating Gear Town, just because it's a spell. Next, you're going to chain your Mystical Space Typhoon, as you have been this entire video, and that'll make Chain Link 2. When we resolve, Mystical Space Typhoon will resolve to destroy a card, and Gear Town will go to the graveyard. The reason why Gear Town doesn't get its effect when it's destroyed is because it still has to resolve even without effect. So chaining MST to Gear Town essentially prevents its special summon effect, and also retains your copy of Gear Town on the board as well. And that's all there is to it. Mystical Space Typhoon doesn't negate anything. However, it can cause certain cards, like continuous spells, traps, field spells, and equip spell cards, to resolve without their effects, meaning they're not going to get anything for doing it. Just be careful that you know what you're doing, and you know, never worry about asking a question or figuring out what resolves with its effect, what resolves without, what needs to be on the field at all times, what doesn't need to be on the field. I'll be monitoring the comments for this video, so if you have any questions or specific scenarios that you'd like to ask, please feel free to do so. I'll be able to answer any of your questions. Guys, just remember that you don't have to feel bad if somebody showed you this video to help you learn. Not knowing something is the first step to getting better at something. But you have to be open to learning the rules. This game isn't the easiest game. There's a huge learning curve to it. But that's not something to discourage you from being able to play this game better. If you'd like more of these kinds of videos, please let me know in the comments what you'd like me to talk about, and I'll make a video about it. Whether it's just an in general game topic, or more know your rule before you duel videos. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and keep dueling, America.